And we'll, thank you, Yolanda. Um, and those of you that have done this before know this, but if you are awarded a capital grant, you then the organization must wait 2 cycles before you apply again. So if you're unsure, if you have gotten one in the recent past and you want to check in with us about your eligibility, please do, so we can make sure. The awards typically range from 5,000 to 20,000. I think last year we saw more around the 10 to 15,000 range. There's been more of a trend of trying to there's a lot of great projects and we only have a certain amount of money, so trying to really help as many organizations as we can. We'll go through this part of the process as an interview process, and we'll try to go into, okay, if we aren't able to support at the full level that you may have requested, will that still be meaningful for you? So we don't want to just come in with like a low amount if it's not going to be meaningful, but we are trying to just maximize our resources as much as we can. Having said that, this year we're aiming for about $200,000 total in capital grants through this cycle. Guess we can move forward, Yolanda.
Absolutely. So good morning, everybody. Yolanda Rushdan, like Sarah said, I have the honor of working directly with her and our community impact team, where we get the pleasure to work with you on your specific organization needs. And what we'll do today is that I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'll go through it. You'll see that for most of this and not me. And at the end, we'll have an opportunity to ask questions. Does that mean that they need to wait until the end of the presentation? No. Feel free to enter them into the chat, come off mute and say, hey, Yolanda, or hey, Sarah, I have a question, and we're happy to respond to it. So we'll go ahead and share our screen so that you can see the lovely presentation. I'm going to minimize over here. And some of this might have been shared already. That's okay. You know, it's always good to be repeating, and now we get the benefit too of it being recorded. 1 second, I need to do one more thing. Okay. What is the purpose of capital grants? This is something that has come up within the past few weeks of what does capital really mean? And so it's on our website. You're seeing it here in front of you today. What we're really looking for overall through no matter what grant program we're doing, we at the DCF are always looking to build opportunity and advance equity. And then through this particular grant program, is that it could be grants for acquisition. And I'm going to read this so that you fully understand and appreciate what we're looking for. Grants for acquisition, final stage design, construction, repair, renovation, rehabilitation, or other capital improvements. That means windows. That means HVAC. That means heating. Actual improvements to brick and mortar. Now, what we also understand, given the times that we're in right now and what we just went through the pandemic, we do understand that technology infrastructure is now a true need. And so that is not something that is listed, but those are needs that we are looking at and we're taking into consideration because we know that many doors have closed and folks have moved to an online environment. And so if you do have a technology infrastructure need, you're not excluded. We can have a conversation about what that means and what that looks like. Later on, you'll see what's not included, but it's worth mentioning given what we're talking about. Computers are still excluded. iPads are still excluded. Desk, still excluded. And those lists, again, are on our website, but you'll see it later as well. We are a statewide organization. It's not just Newcastle County. It is everybody in Delaware that will be supported through these efforts. And we're also looking for lasting positive impact, hence the exclusion of computers and such, because we understand that that is something that's not lasting. However, that may change, again, understanding the environment that we're in, but at this moment today, computers and iPads and such are not included in this. You must be, what Sarah already said, a 501c3, a public charity. That is important. And if you have any question about what your standing is, we'd encourage you to go back to your letter from the IRS. I don't want you to waste your time if you're not listed as a public charity. And then I have to come back to you and say you're excluded. So please make sure that you are listed as a public charity. And then
Come
also
on a second. They just got started. Hold on.
mute whoever's talking just a second.
I had
I'm
to
gonna
use
just
the
say mute
bathroom.
all. Okay. Whoops. And Sarah also noted the awards limits. Okay. Next up is, oh no, not many things aren't advancing. Who are the past recipients? Who have we supported in the past, and what does it look like? These are just noting a few. I think what we are typically, the number that you'll typically see in terms of organizations that have been awarded, the total, is somewhere to the tune of 18 to 22, 23 organizations about. So that gives you about how much to ask for when you're thinking about what your needs are and what the DCF could do. These are statewide representation kind of across the board in terms of what we funded in the past. This is not everybody, but it gives you a good understanding of what we've done. Primos Pastos, I think they're in Sussex County. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but we've installed some equipment for their preschool children to ride tricycles, community education building for them to do their point of sale system, Delaware Public Media, so that they can increase their signal strength and reach, and then also the LACC to replace windows and repair railing and gates. Capital improvements, things that will help you do your job better and serve your constituents. What's the process? Everything's online. You're surprised there? One application per organization. Let's talk about this for a second. You can apply, the DCF at times will have multiple application cycles available. Just because you're applying to capital does not preclude you from applying to another opportunity. However, you're only submitting one application to capital. So what that means is if you're in Kent County, I don't think this is open yet, but if you're in Kent County, you can apply to capital and you can also apply to Potter Trust, right? You can apply to capital or Highmark. So I just want to make sure that you understand that just because you're applying to one doesn't mean that you're only restricted to that one. Something new that we started maybe a year or two ago are office hours. And that's when you get to meet directly with me from now until November 15th for 20-30 minutes to talk about what your ask is. Is it a fit? Should I include this? What does this mean on this application? Can you talk about this a little bit more? That's what that time is for. So if you have that need, there's going to be a link on here. It's also on our website so that you can go ahead and schedule that time to meet with me. So take advantage of it. The application deadline, you've already seen, I hope, is November 17th. Virtual site visits will be extended, an opportunity will be extended to every applicant. It is on you to schedule it. You will get an email from me that has specific dates and specific times. I'm not scheduling for you. You have to respond and say, okay, this is my time, and then you have to actually show up. And it is critical that you're doing these, because what we have found is that sometimes when we're reading applications, we're left with questions. The time with the folks that are reviewing your application, this is what that's about. You're not meeting with me, I'll be on it, but you're meeting with the people that are making the final decision on your application. So it's on you to schedule and it's on you to show up and be ready to talk about a little bit of what's in the application, but more so what's not there. It's your time to make it really difficult for our grant committee members to say no to you. That's the point. After this virtual site visit, we'll meet as a team, as a collective group, talk about what did we see, what did we hear, what are the needs, and who are we able to fund? Not a want, it's who are we able to fund this year based on dollars available and community need. And then we'll need to get approval from our board of directors in December, which means funding would get back to you the beginning of the new year. So think about that as you think about what your needs are in terms of when you'll get funding. We are not a reimbursement grant. So if you've already purchased something and you're looking for reimbursement, this is not a fit. Here's how to schedule. You don't have to write this down. It's on our website. but I would encourage you to go to our website. If you have a need to meet with me, I'm happy to do it. And you would find it on the site where it says apply for grants. And then you see capital, and then that's where the link is within that little box. And you can click on that link to schedule time with me. Again, this is open for 20 to 30 minutes until November 15th. It is based on my schedule and my availability. I'm hopeful that there are times that sync up to what your time as well. So, and it's about 20 to 30 minutes. So what's the process?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
can I just, I'm sorry, add one thing about the deadline of November 17th. Please, to the extent possible, don't wait until that 5 p.m. I think it's 5 p.m. Because inevitably, there may be an issue with your Wi-Fi and like actually getting it submitted or something. That happens a lot. And it's just get it in sooner. And also we have a process as things are coming in. We're looking at them, making sure that they're complete, making sure that we see all the attachments, all that kind of thing. And if there's something where it's like, oh, this isn't loading or this is unclear, we'd like to figure that out before 5:15 p.m. on November 17th, because then it just means we have to ask you have to get it back. We try to turn these to the grant committee for review as soon as we can so they can really dig into them. So just as much as you can, please don't wait until that very last minute to get things in.
Thank you, Sarah. I love it how it does this. Okay. Our review process, much of what Sarah just said, we review them for completeness before they are evaluated or assigned to our grants committee to make sure that the application proposal or packet that you're submitting fully has everything that you're intending to submit to that committee. So if you're missing a budget, or if the budget isn't clear, or if just anything is missing, we will get back to you and ask for more information. So there might be a time when you say, I submitted this and it's in draft. Why is that? There might be an email, there will be an email from me that says, hey, I sent this back to you because. So if you see that, please respond quickly so that we can get this ready for you for submission. And I always call as well, especially if we're getting up to that deadline and you haven't responded. Of course, proposals are reviewed by our grants committee. Who's our grants committee? They're listed on our website if you want to take a look. Most are, first of all, it's important to say this, they are representative of the community that we're serving statewide. And that's in race. We have a diverse group in terms of age, diversity in terms of what their background is, location throughout Delaware. We being myself and Sarah, have been very intentional about the people that are on this committee, because in order for us to make the best decisions on who gets funding throughout our state, we need people who understand who's in our state and represent the people in our state. So we're very proud of that. And so when we say it's diverse on multiple levels. And so again, very proud to be able to say that our committee represents our state. All applicants will participate, invited to a virtual interview. There are times when people don't respond and they don't have this interview. It is a missed opportunity, and the interviews will be scored heavier this year than years past because it's such valuable and rich information that we get from these interviews. So please take the time to schedule and take the time to show up. I mentioned this before, that after the interviews, we'll meet as a full committee to make decisions and then board approves. So what is the application? Again, everything is online. If you've applied to us before, you've seen this page, your sign-in page, and then you have your lovely dashboard. And on your dashboard, let's go over this a little bit. You're the applicant, and whoever set up the organization is probably the person who's going to be showing up here as the applicant. If your director of development, grants person, whomever has changed, and this needs to be updated with your information, let me know. I'm happy to do that for you. I don't know if I don't think you'll have access to do that, but I can do it for you. So please make sure that all of this information is correct in terms of your organization, address, phone number, etc., because it's important for us to have those details. And you'll see here that your active requests and then historical requests are here as well. Organization information. Now we're into the nuts and bolts of the application. Very basic level stuff here. NTEE codes. There's a lovely box that shows up and it's like, it tells you what yours is. If you ever have a question of what is your NTEE code, go back to your IRS letter and then it should be stated on there. Mission statement, geography served, and contact information. Here's the nuts and bolts of the ask itself. The project name and abstract. What is an abstract? An abstract is very quick. This is your 30-second elevator pitch of what your need is. The reason we ask for this is that most of the top ranking organizations from our committee, we can't fund everybody, but say that the top ranking was 30 organizations, right? And we're only able to fund 25. Everybody that was considered to be top ranking will then be submitted to our fund holders and say, hey, our grants committee read all of these applications. These were the top ranking ones. We weren't able to fund all of them. What won't you consider funding them and giving them the support that they need? That's why we ask for that. Project timeline is important. That's important because, like I said before, we're not a reimbursement grant. So it's important that we understand what your timeline is for funding need and your project itself to ensure that it goes beyond when we're going to be giving you the funds. That's what we ask. Amount requested, project budget, estimates and quotes. This is capital. So these quotes are really important so that you're substantiating the need. That's what that's for. We also understand that you've gone to multiple people. We all know this. Even if you're getting something done at your home, you're not going to go with the first quote that you got. You're going to make sure that you're getting a fair quote and a fair assessment. We're asking the same thing here. How are you using the funds? And as you go down further, it's a population served and community impact. This is the part that it gets kind of tricky because you're like, I'm asking for funding for a roof. How exciting can that be? What we're looking for is, if you don't get that roof fixed, how does this impact your program or your project? That's really it. What does that community impact look like for you? Is it that you're not able to use a room that you would normally use for your program because the roof is leaking in there? It's cold outside. You don't want that. Or you need more new windows because it's cold outside and people are needing to wear jackets and sweaters. So it's impacting their experience. That's what we're looking for when we ask for community impact. Because at the end of the day, we're making an investment in you as an organization and what you're doing for your community. That weighs heavy along with what your need is, but it's also about your organization as a whole. And then other sources of funding. This is the question of, say it's a full capital construction project that you're doing. It's going to be multi-year. We want to know who else is involved, who else is joining you in this effort, so that we better understand that you're able to not only get it done, get yourself over the finish line, but then just who else is joining you in this. And if the need is $5,200 and you're asking us for $5,200, that's okay too. DEI, you've seen these questions before. I wish there was a way that your answers could be repeated from previous applications. We're not there yet. But the reason we're asking these questions is similar, the same reason why we started. We want to know who we're supporting. And we want to make sure that we're supporting organizations that represent our state as a whole. And the only way that we can do that is with data. And this is very important, data. Somebody asked me yesterday, there was an office hour appointment that I had, and he said, do I print this out and give it to every board member and have them self-identify? And I said, I wish everybody could do that. He's like, well, I don't want to assume. I said, I don't want you to assume either. If you're assuming, please enter, prefer not to answer. We want real and accurate data here. We don't want you to fudge it. We don't want you to assume. We do want you to take it seriously. So if you're able to get this information, awesome. But if you're not, please don't assume and make it up. Required attachments. You see it here. Please note that from your 990, we're only asking for the statement of revenue page or board approved accounting. We're not asking for the whole thing. Operating budget is different than the project budget, which is under a different section. Your board of directors list IRS letter, and then additional attachments. This is optional. This can be more information about your organization. This could be more about the actual capital need. If you have a big proposal that you're adding with it, or just some sort of there, this is your opportunity to add to it. If it's photos, we love photos. You know, everybody will see it in terms of who's reviewing your application. So that's optional. Payment, because of COVID, everything is now ACH. And so we need that information from your bank. It could be avoided. First of all, you have to sign and say, yes, you can pay me, and that you're validating the information. And it could be a voided check or a letter from your bank. But we do want to make sure that it's accurate and correct information so that if you are getting funding, we're able to get that money to you quickly. Here's a rubric. It's on our website, so you'll know how is the committee scoring your application. And we're really looking at project details, that it's focused, realistic, and measurable. We don't want you to do something that's going to stretch your organization so thin and that you're not going to be able to get it done, or it's just going to be too difficult. Be realistic about what you're asking for and how you get it done, because we are looking at that. Community outcomes. You know, you're talking about clearly how your organization impacts the community. Help us appreciate and understand who you are, and write this as if we don't know who you are. Many things have changed because of the pandemic, which is great. Some things have changed for the better, which is awesome. We want to know how you're impacting your community overall. And then the funding request is clear and reasonable, and the project budget is included. We're going to be looking at it and just ensuring that everything makes sense and is reasonable. If you receive a grant from us, on our grant agreement, you'll see that there's a media kit that's included. And that talks about our logo and how to share this out in press release, social media, website. That's what we want. We want to tell your story. We want you to tell our story too and say, hey, we got a grant from the DCF to support this effort. Isn't it awesome? So if you get a grant from us, spread the word. And also that when you're at the end of the grant year, because it is a grant year, in the past, we've done a 6-month report. That's gone. It is now only a virtual end of year report. Why? What we found with capital grants is at 6 months, folks were saying, a project hasn't started yet, or it just started, which we completely appreciate and understand. And so therefore, we're now getting rid of the mid-year report because it wasn't giving us the details and information that we hoped, but the end of year reports did. And as a reminder, if you did get funding this year, you have to wait 2 capital grant cycles. So right now, we're in fiscal year 24. So you would have to wait 25, 26, and you will be able to apply again in fiscal year 27. Hope that makes sense. If you do not receive a grant, then you are able to apply the next cycle. Not supported, they're listed here, talked about it a little bit. And I did see some schools attending today. I do want to highlight that public or tuition-based educational institutions are not able, they're not eligible to apply. You're not able to apply for purchase of a vehicle, I know that some folks would like to. And then annual fundraising campaigns, et cetera, purchase of equipment, office equipment, excuse me, furniture or standard office expenses. And then you can contact me for more information. And I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm happy to answer any questions. If there are any.
I have a question, Yolanda. This is Lynn Calder. I was wondering, I know like, so equipment like office furniture is not included, but if like in the case of like, say you are a homeless shelter and you need kind of, I don't want to say like equipment, but like new washer and dryers or like a new oven range, like that, would that be considered eligible or is that not?
We've supported these efforts in the past, so that would
Okay.
be supported. Yep.
Okay, great. And then one other question, painting, is that considered eligible or ineligible? I'm thinking that's.
Sarah came off mute. I'm going to let her.
Oh, thank you. And just I agree with the last response to it. What it makes me think of specifically is like we've supported some kitchens in, yeah, what's the commercial kitchens, you know, in places that, so it kind of feels like that to me, to your previous question. Painting is hard. So, you know, if there's a project and is part of the whole scope of the like a renovation, that's one element. I think that would be, that's reasonable. And that's why the kind of budget detail and narrative is important to understand. Something that was kind of, if it was just it, I think that would be a harder sell for painting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Keoshani, I have a question.
Okay, and then Keto, you're next. Lisa G, and then S.A. Kane. Sorry, that's all I see. Okay, Keto.
My nonprofit is new and we don't have our exemption letter yet. Can I use a fiscal sponsor?
That's a good question. So Keto, thank you for asking this. This is such an important question. That's a hard one for me to answer to you because fiscal sponsorship is a very serious IRS relationship that has been approved and legally binding. It is not something that can be successfully done within the time frame that we have. So unfortunately, for this particular cycle, I would not encourage that because it would raise questions on our end on how legally valid that is.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to clarify though, if you already have a fiscal sponsor, you know, we can accept the application and it would then technically come from them. But I think Yolanda's saying like, we aren't able to do that in the stead. And
I got you.
Yeah. And if
that's fine. That's great.
And if you do have that relationship, I think we do ask for the appropriate kind of agreement. So so what we don't want to do is just say, they're going to get the grant for us and pass it along. Like we need to actually see that you have a formal relationship, in place.
Okay, cool.
That
Thank
makes
you.
sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Lisa G.
Thanks, Yolanda. A few questions. With this type of grant, does the money have to be spent by a certain time?
The grant cycle is 1 year, but there have been circumstances where folks have needed to go beyond that year. And that's been approved by us. And those are conversations that we've had offline with the specific organization. So they're not necessarily tied to it, but that is a very, it's a conversation that we've had with organizations in the past.
Okay. Because we'll probably set up some office hours because one of the things that we'd be looking at is more on the technology side. We need to update some of our databases and website, but we're still going back to get the quotes and, you know, would we be tied to a certain one, those type of things. So we can set up some,
that
we
takes
can
a
set
long
up,
time.
yeah, we can set up some time with you for the office hours.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Yolanda.
Sure. S.A. Kane.
Hi, I'm Sue Ann Kane from Cancer Support Community Delaware. And this has been great, by the way. Thank you. So it's a very easy question. So I've already set up 2 people to come out for estimates of what I'm thinking about doing. Do you think that 3 would be better? Like, what's the Goldilocks zone of that?
That's a fair question. And I think so long as you're doing your own due diligence, that's what we're really looking for. And that
Okay.
you're not going with the first and only one that you saw.
All right, good enough.
Mukul, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing.
That's fine. Thank you, Yolanda. And thank you again for all the information that you've shared. One of the exclusions that you had mentioned was vehicles. Does this also include things like forklifts or pallet trucks? Does that include, is that considered as vehicles?
Sarah.
This is a great question. So, and maybe if I share why vehicles, that might give some context, it's kind of the same thinking of computers, like things that need to be maintained and then cycled out of use, replaced, more frequently. And so my instinct is to say that type of equipment is more along the lines of the commercial kitchen and the equipment that's more lasting. So that's, and Yolanda, I see you nodding your head, because we also kind of think about what's this conversation going to be like in the committee and how we think through this. So I think that would still, that would make sense in terms of equipment that allows you to fulfill, as long as you can make that connection of this is why we need this, in order to fulfill our mission and serve our constituency. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, Yolanda.
Or Caitlin.
Hi, Yolanda. I don't really have a voice, so hopefully you can understand me.
Yes.
I work for the Life Health Center and we have a long-term lease. We're needing to do some renovations in that space. Would that be considered, or is the fact that we're leasing going to be an issue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great question. I'm so glad these come up. So we consider it, and I think we need that information about what the long-term lease is, and also some context around, if you said we've already been here 15 years and our long-term lease is for the next 5. The context of it's not a brand new thing, and there's to kind of build it's not likely that we'll be out soon. And of course, again, the reasoning here is that we wouldn't want our resources to go somewhere that then the organization is going to move out in a year or 2. So it's a conversation. It's not a definitely no. I think we need to understand the full context, and dig into that.
Thank you.
We feel better.
Lawrence. Yeah, feel better. You're right. Lawrence.
I'm with Milton Community Food Pantry, and we were just able to build a 1,500 square foot building, but we have not been able to completely fund it. Is that something we could reach out to the capital grant for? We have others that have paid for part of it for us, but not the whole thing yet.
It's a tough one because you already have the building. Lawrence, I am familiar with this. I think that we should schedule some time to talk separately about it.
Sounds
Because
good, yes.
I'm having a tough time because it's feeling reimbursement. It's feeling like a reimbursement to me, but we can have a conversation about it.
Right,
Happy to.
because we haven't paid for it yet, not all,
Understood.
right? Okay,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Lynn?
Okay, one more question. For museums, would an exhibit redesign, would that be something that is eligible, or?
Absolutely. I saw one come through and I think I know what you're talking about. But yes, that would be eligible. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. I've been peeking on what's coming through already. Any other questions? And these are great. So thank you. Others are benefiting from your asking. Okay. Because this is a recording and this will be, and it's provided for more publicly, this will be on our website. So you'll be able to view it later if you have any questions. The office hours are available until November 15th. And the link is also on our website so that you can schedule time with me. As a reminder, when you get your email to request time with the reviewers, please respond, please schedule. They do fill up quickly. So respond as quickly as you can. You'll get an option, I think it's about 4 or 5 days that you can respond to with at least 3 or 4 times per day. So it's many options for you to respond to so that you can meet directly with the committee members. This is based on how many, I see you, Zach, how many people submit an application to, of course. Zach, Ryan,
Oh, sorry, I think that was an Aaron's hand raise.
sorry. Okay. If there aren't any other questions, you know how to get a hold of us. We thank you for your time today and look forward to your submissions. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the info.
Sure.
Thank you. Have a good one.